All right, so it's a frosty morning here just outside of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Cold outside, but warm inside the shop. So welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark, like to work on old trucks. Look at that, Pete. And I like to work on old cars too. And today I'm gonna be working on the Bandit TransAM. It's amazing that 50 years later, All right, so of course in the last TransAM episode, I was doing a bunch of work on the wiring, putting in the painless wiring kit. And I got the fuse panel mounted on both sides there, and I started laying out the wires, and then that was about as far as I got. So there's still a lot of work to do on the painless wiring kit. But what I also wanted to work on today was finishing up the brakes. So I finished up the brakes in the front. I had a bit of a challenge with the Wilwood calipers actually come with 1/2-20, and the standard studs that came on the TransAM are 7/16. So they're a little bit smaller, so I didn't have the right lug nuts for to put the wheels on. But what's interesting is you can't get 1/2 20 thread, you can't get 1/2 20 lug nuts that have the correct diameter and depth of shank to sit in the snowflake rim. So these, if you see, there's a nice square edge here, so they don't actually have the taper to center the wheel, or to center, well, I guess it's centering the wheel on the hub as you tighten it. They just fit squarely and snugly in there, and they have a certain depth, and that's what holds it in the right spot on the hub. But again, that size is too small, and you can't get 1/2 20. So what that means is I'm not going to be able to use the original snowflake rims on that hub. So bit of a heartbreaker. I mean, those are 15x8s. Those aren't the original ones were 15x7s. I like the wider wheels. I was going to use these, but I had to actually take them in to get them gold powder coated and then machined down again. So I was going to take a little bit of money anyway. So going up to 17-inch rims is not the end of the world. I mean, I wouldn't go 19s because then that doesn't suit kind of the time of the car. It just starts to look a little too modern for my take. But 17s I think is a nice compromise. So I'm going to get 17-inch new snowflake rims, and then I can actually get the rims. The new rims actually have the chamfer or the angle cut in, so you can use tapered lug nuts to center the wheel on the hub, and that are 1/2 20 threads. So long-winded way of saying I'm going to go with 17-inch rims on this car. But for now, what I can do is I picked up some shanked lug nuts off of Amazon. They're not the right depth, but it'll at least hold the wheel on there so I can roll the car. Because ultimately I want to get this thing back on 4 tires so I can roll it off the ramp and then put my inflatable paint booth and then be able to paint the car. So put the wheels on the front. In order to put the wheels on the back, I've got to pick up where I left off with the putting on the rear backing plates from Wilwood. So of course I was, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I was surprised that this is a more later model Camaro 10 bolt that someone stuffed underneath this car. It wasn't the factory wood diff. So the flange registration was a little larger. So the back brake backing plate wouldn't go over that little lip there. So I got new backing plates. I'm going to mount those on there. I'll have to swap all of the little components over. Where is it? There's one. I got to swap all of this stuff over to the new backing plate, which shouldn't be too hard. And then I'll be able to finish up the back brakes and then put the back wheels on the car. And like I say, that'll allow me to be at least roll it off my wildfire lift, and then I can get going on the paint. Now, the only thing preventing me from the painting is a lot of blocking. I still got a lot of sanding to do. I want to put a high build primer on it and then sand that back down and try and get it as flat as possible. But obviously these rotten sections need to be fixed up. Now the door, I had my buddy Blake come over last weekend, and he was looking at the door going, oof, Mark, this door's in pretty rough shape. It's going to take a lot to try and patch this all up. So he suggested I actually go and try and find a newer, well, new to me door that's in much better shape. So I went over to David T's. He has got one hell of a collection of Trans Am and Camaro parts. So I talked him out of this nice door. It's actually got all the components in it already. The window and the power regulator and all that's already in there. So I can simply mount this on the car, and he does an exchange thing, kind of like a core deal. So I got to give him back this old rusty door, and he'll take all the innards out. But really appreciate Dave helping me out with that. That'll solve that problem in a hurry. I have ordered some new hinges, so I'll wait till I get the new hinges to mount the new door on there. And then Blake has offered to come over hopefully one of the nights this week and weld in these panels. So I got a patch panel here, and then we got to have this inner trunk drop welded in, and then there's a new panel that gets tacked on here. So once that's all tacked up and welded in place, I can start building it up with putty, making it all smooth. And then, like I say, that's the goal, is to get the car painted. Because once the car is painted, then I can start really putting all the goodies on, like the engine from Butler and the transmission, finish putting in the drive line. And then that should put me over the hump to get this car on the road, hopefully, fingers crossed, by summer. Okay, a lot of long-winded talking there, Mark. I just wanted to give everyone an update what was going on. And so with that, I'm going to get started on the back brakes. Well, hopefully that's the last time I take that axle out and I can get this finished and I can put it all back together. All right, so here's the new backing plates from Wilwood. Let's see if they fit on there. Oh yeah. See, that's how it goes. It fits over top of the flange registration and then fits flat against that face at the end of the axle tube. So those are the correct ones. So now I just need to swap over all of these goodies from this backing plate to that one. Now, this is actually a neat setup from Wilwood. It's actually a drum brake, disc brake combination. So this guy sits on there, and then the drum brakes here. So when you step on the parking brake, it pulls the cable, pulls this lever forward, and then applies the brake shoes outwards to the inside of the rotor here, and that sets your parking brake. But then this will also be, it's also got mounts on the side here for the caliper, the disc brake caliper that obviously grabs the disc. So it's a, like I say, a disc brake, drum brake combination, which is pretty slick. So now what I need to do is I'll have to play with all these little springs and unbolt all of this stuff and transfer it over to that backing plate. Okay, getting close. Just got to finish putting these last few bolts in. And as you can see, they had red Loctite on there before. So I'm going to redo that, because you don't want these things coming out while you're going down the highway, because that would be a bad day. But that actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Now, as you saw, I don't have the right tools for doing the springs, so I just had to do it with pliers, which took a little bit of playing around there. But no big deal. There, good and tight. Okay. Now, flip this guy around and get it in place. What I'll do is I'll just clean this up with a wire brush before I mount it on there. Now these call for somewhere between, I think, 40 to 50 foot-pounds. So I'm going right in the middle at 45. And there is a lock washer on these T-bolts to keep them from backing out, but I just put a little dab of blue Loctite on there. Never hurts. If some is good, more is better when it comes to brakes. Like I say, you don't want any of this stuff loosening off while you're going down the highway. Now, I think that is pretty much done for this side. So I can put the axle back in, because once the axle's in, then the rotor can go over top. There it goes. Perfect. And then that's how she goes on there. Beauty. Okay, so now I'll do the same thing to the other side, and then I can put the C-clips on the axle, button up the diff cover, and then I can finish the installation here and put on the calipers. That is slick though. Now, before I get going on the other side, I realized, ow, watch your head, Mark. I realized that block of wood's in the way, so I gotta raise the car up, put the wheels on, and then I can steal my scissor lift for the back. Now here's the new lug nuts I got, and they've got that chamfer on there, and then here's the original ones. So they're the 20, they're the larger diameter, but they're definitely not correct for the wheel, because of course the wheel is just a flat and doesn't have that angle cut into it. But they'll work for my low speed application to wheel the car on and off the lift. Again, clearly not correct, and you would never want to go down the road with these, but they'll hold the wheel in place, like I say, for my application right now. And before you type the comment down below, Mark, why didn't you put the 5th lug nut on? I don't know. These things come in a box of 4 for some reason and not 5. And I wasn't going to buy 3 boxes of these stupid things because, again, they're just temporary. There. Now I can get those blocks out of the way and finish up this side. All right, so old TwinSticks thought he had it licked. So I ran into an issue on this side, and here, I'll show you what the problem is. So I've swapped everything over. This is the larger opening, so it fits over that flange registration. But then when I was doing some mock-up, I realized that this caliper was going to interfere with that shock. So I did some research, and this particular setup on this newer differential doesn't have staggered shocks. You see how the shock on that side goes forward and this one comes back. So this design of setup here is for both calipers to be behind. So obviously there's enough room over there, and let me show you, because there's no shock in the way. So this guy's going to bolt on like that and no big problem, right? And then the emergency brake just pulls forward. But on this side, yeah, so what I did was I put the plate where it was originally correctly on there, because you see the inserts here, there's nothing on the back side. So these inserts, threaded inserts, go in that way, and the bolts come this way and suck this in and hold it in from going, from falling out. So that's obviously not the right place, because again, this guy isn't going to fit in there. I mean, I can almost get the bolts started, but there's an interference there, and I won't be able to add any shims to get the caliper centered over the rotor. So that's a non-starter. So when I flip, the problem is though, is when I flip this guy around to the other side, the way these are drilled, these aren't, they're symmetrical left and right. This thing matches, but the only way, these holes aren't the same distance. So the only way this works is if I give this a flip around the other way, and now the inserts are facing this way, and the caliper bolts on from that way. So when I put the bolt through the caliper into the insert, it can actually fall out of this backing plate. So that's not gonna work. So what I'm thinking I might do is order a new backing plate, the same part number as this side, because this side will have the inserts facing out at the back. So I'm gonna have to reach out to Wilwood one more time. I'm close. I just need a new one of these. No, this was just destined not to work right out of the get-go. because even now that I go to put the emergency brake cable holder on there, it's not lined up, so I need a different part number for that too. I mean, essentially what I need is 2 left-handed or passenger side setups, because if you look at this guy, this is perfect to what I want. I want the bracket up there, I want the finger to bend that way, just like that guy, and then I want this bracket on the back with the inserts pushed in towards the diff. So I basically need this whole setup because I'm just trying to flip it so it's on the other side of the car. Now the caliper's at the front instead of at the back on this side. Okay, so a few more parts. I gotta order one of these and one of these, and I should be able to make it work. All right, so since I'm stalled out on finishing up the back brakes, I figure, well, I can at least move on to the parking brake. Plus I still gotta run the brake line. So there's still plenty of work to do. When you run into one roadblock, there's plenty of other roads to go down. So of course, this is the way the emergency brake works. So you've got your pedal up on the very left there, and it pulls this cable as you push that forward. It's gonna suck this cable towards the engine and then tightens this up, and it'll obviously just mechanically apply the parking brake. Now on this design, the caliper has got a setup where it's just manually pushing the piston out to lock the disc brakes in place. Of course, the Wilwoods have their own independent drum brake for the park brake, so won't be needing these anymore, obviously. So I will disconnect these lines. Now I do have, the Wilwood kit comes with new gear and brackets and a whole bunch of instructions. So I think I could actually, this maybe runs all the way. I'll look at the instructions. I don't know if these are just the 2 tandems that go to each side. I assume that would be the case. Why would you need new ones to go all the way up to the pedal inside the car? And then there's various brackets. So I'll read the instructions on that and then see if I can't get these new cables installed, because what I'm gonna be curious about is, obviously this one's gonna be set up correctly, where it's gonna hold the cable, and then the little nib on the end is gonna grab that finger and pull forward to set the park brake. But of course, as you know, I'm gonna do the reverse. The caliper is gonna be in the front on the driver's side. So the cable's gonna have to come all the way around, make a bend and go this way, and it's gonna pull the plunger towards or the finger towards the back of the car. So I need to see if I've actually got enough length with these new cables to make that backwards pull. All right, so this is actually a universal kit, universal emergency brake kit from Wilwood. And it comes with the 2 lines that come down and then a clevis that connects into the main line that comes from the pedal that goes underneath the car. So that's where this guy clicks in. And the cool part is they give you way more length than you need for a lot of different applications. And then you can cut it to whatever length you need. And then you just run the wire through this, well, this end of the wire through here. You cut it off and you tighten it down with these screws. So that's the final adjustment. And then this guy connects in, this clevis connects into the main line that comes down from the pedal. So the way to make this work is you got to pull the inner cable out, and then they got these clevises here, and you thread that through that hole there. Come on. Come on. Okay. And then you run it back in the outer sheath. It's nice that they put tape on the end so it doesn't fray. Okay. And then this guy here, so this is obviously the one that I can't mount on the back of the car, but it's actually helpful because I got it on the bench. So the one that's set up correctly has the bracket like this and this little finger to apply the brakes. So you run the cable through here and then tighten the nut down. And then you got to get this cable through the clevis. Come on, like so. And then it's got a little slotted opening here, and that basically just goes around, and you just give it a tap with a hammer, and then that is set. So it's actually a pretty good setup. Nice work, Wilwood. So I'll be able to, I can just tap this off here. So I'll be able to install the one cable on the one side, and then the other one will just be hanging there for the next episode when I get the correct mounting bracket for the caliper. So yeah, I think this is going to be pretty easy. Again, I leave the main cable that comes down from the pedal where it is, and then I just run these two lines out to each side of the car. So let's get under the car and see if I can't make this work. There, something like that. Now I just got to tighten that up and then put the clamp over top of the thing. There, something like that. So you can see the clevis goes around the little finger, and then the nut locks on there, and that's done. So now when I step on the brake pedal, it'll just pull this guy forward. Let's see if I can move it. And apply, push the brake shoes out and apply the parking brake. Man, that's slick. All right, so now what I can do is take the old cable out of here, and then I'll run this new cable through the frame and then up to here. And as you can see, there's gonna be way more line than I need. I only need to make it to this bracket here. Yeah, slick. And then on this side, same idea. Just take this clip out of here, and then I should be able to pull the caliper back. There it goes. Done. Now, on the emergency brake here, where it actually physically pushes the piston out, you need a return spring. So that's the return spring there that was on there. So when you release the pedal, it bounces back. But obviously on this setup here, you've got these springs that are going to want to bring the drum or the shoes back in. So that's your return spring tension. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so now I just need to run that other cable back through the frame on this side, and then I'll be able to connect them up to the rod there that again goes up to the pedal. Pretty straightforward. Now on this side, I want to make sure that I don't want to have this loop too tight. So I kind of ran it on the inside of the sway bar, because it's not ideal. Obviously you'd want a straight pull, but this will be locked into the bracket, so it's not going to pull on the outer part of the cable. So I think as long as it's got a decent curve to it, it should work. So probably something like that. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just tape the outer, because it'll be sitting somewhere about there. Tape the outer to the shock, and then I can try and figure out my measurement to cut at the front. All right, so I was just trying to figure out how this line doesn't interfere with the drive shaft. So I went back to an old episode, episode 5. So I can see that's the nice thing about documenting or video documenting this restoration, is I can always go back to reference. But it appeared that this line actually went underneath the exhaust, because you got to remember there'll be exhaust pipes run through here. So it goes underneath the exhaust pipe, and that holds it below the drive shaft on both sides. But I'm wondering, I'm a little nervous about cutting it in case I need more length. I guess I could leave a little extra, but I'm a little, like I say, I'm a little nervous about cutting it now until I actually get the drive shaft and the exhaust in. I wonder if it would be smarter just to zip tie it up in place and save that for another day. Yeah, that's probably the smarter move. Plus, I'll have the corrected backing plate on there so I can mount it properly and just double check that it's all gonna work. So I think I'm gonna stop there with this particular part of the project and move on to the next thing. All right, so next up what I wanted to do was install the flex lines. Now the flex lines are designed to go from the back of the caliper on the front. So there's a little port back here, and then it goes up to this mounting plate here. And the reason it's a flex line is obviously as you hit bumps, this thing's gonna be moving up and down. So you can't have a hard line that goes from that bracket to the caliper. It would split and break and leak, and it would be a bad day. So I want to put the fitting in here. Oh, nice. Well, I'll scrape the rest of that sticker off of there. And then, since this is NPT, what is it, National Pipe Thread? It's just kind of a tapered thread. Get out of there, we don't need that in there. Boy, who put this sticker on? There. So yeah, this is NPT thread, so you have to use some sort of thread locker on there. So they recommend just using the plumber's tape I mean, I could use the typical white paste that I always use on my airlines, but I'll just use plumber's tape. And so then that'll be the fitting that goes in NPT. So notice how it doesn't have that cut, that angle. So that's designed to go into these guys because I've got a matching, I think it's 37 degrees taper single flare in there. So when the pointed edge goes into the cup, that's where it actually seals, not on the thread. So you don't need thread locker on those guys, but you do need it where that goes into the caliper. So what I'll do is I'll wrap those up and then tighten them up. And you want to make sure that they're tight, but I also got to be mindful of which way they're pointing as I'm tightening it up, because I want to have it pointing kind of up in that general direction at an angle up towards that bracket. So I'll put those guys both on there, and then I'll put the lines on, and then I'll probably just tape the ends, because after that I'll take this old crusty line off of here, and then I've actually got brand new stainless lines that are going to run from the new Wilwood master cylinder all the way to all four corners. So I can start laying those out as well. Lots to do. All right, so if you want to know a trick for putting pipe tape on there, is you look down at the bolt or look down at wherever your threads are, and you're going to go clockwise. That way when you put it in there, it actually doesn't unravel. So they say go finger tight, and then you can go another turn or two, up to 3 turns more. But you got to kind of judge. You don't want it too tight, but you don't want it to leak either. All right, I stand corrected. So on the one end, it's got a 90 degree, and the other end, it's straight. So the straight one is where it's going to want to go up to that bracket. But now the comfortable spot for that is going to be pointing sideways. Well, my goodness, even down like that. Okay. Well, now it's going to be good and tight. Yeah, something like that. You just kind of want to have it as a smooth flow. You don't want to have it kinked or really bent around. And I think that's going to work good. All right, so I don't know if there's any brake fluid left in here. Well, yeah, there is actually, because there was some in the reservoir. So this is going to leak. So what I'm going to do is get a little pail or something to catch that, because as soon as I take that off of there, it's going to start leaking out. But little PSA for you. Brake fluid, you don't want to get that in your eyes. That is a bad time. It can cause a lot of damage to your eyes. So make sure you're always wearing safety glasses when you're mucking around with brake fluid. There it goes. All right, maybe what I'll do is I'll let that drip out and then go do the other side, because I got to somehow get all the brake fluid out of that reservoir. Probably should have done this last night and just let it all drain out. What I can probably do is I can cut the lines, because I'm running new lines. I'm just going to have brake fluid leaking out everywhere. Well, maybe what I'll do is undo these brackets here. So this is a fuel line coming across, I believe, up and over, and then it's pinched. Now I've got a new Holly fuel tank with all new lines, so that can all be replaced. And then this is obviously a braided brake line. So there should be a new one that comes from the master cylinder that'll dip down like this and go up and over. I should actually open that kit and see what I got. The Stop Shop. Oh yeah, and these T-tops, I was on Facebook Marketplace and these T-tops popped up, and you can never have too many T-tops, because it's not like you can find these anymore. You can't buy them from the Chevy dealership. And these were actually in nicer shape. Mine were a little scratched up because they were probably rolling around in the back. One of the previous owners maybe didn't have bags. So I'll have those. They're actually over there on my arm wrestling table. I'll save those for a rainy day in case one of these ever gets broken, but I think these are going to be my new go-to T-tops. Now, the Bandit TransAM never had the silver trim. This car's got a lot of silver trim on it. So it's got silver trim around here. Those aren't in very good. Yeah, a little bit of bodywork that needs doing. So I'm either going to, I could sand them down and maybe paint them gold, or what I was thinking is when my rapper Tony comes out to put the Dirty Bird on the hood and all the Trans Am logos and gold trim. Maybe he can actually trim these in black, or wrap the trim in black, because my windshield and back glass has silver trim as well. So maybe we'll just, like I say, wrap it in black, and that'll solve that problem. Stop shop. Now this is a custom kit made for this 2nd gen Ep body that I got from, where the hell did I get it from? Summit, I think. Now I'm having to guess that the lines are slightly bent up in order to fit in this box, obviously. But they're all stainless lines, so hopefully just bend it back. Okay. That's it? Oh no, there's some more. There we go. There, okay. That doesn't look very complicated. What do the fittings look like? Okay, single flare. Yeah, so this is the guy that goes from the master cylinder, which is probably this one. And then you just give it a straighten, and that'll go to the back diff. Okay. And then these ones, pair of rear axle brake lines. Okay, maybe I'll leave those in the bag for now. And then this must be front brake line kit. Mint. Leatherman, Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, Canada. Once you have one, you'll wonder how you ever live without it. Okay, so this is probably the line that I was looking at there underneath the car. So it's got a couple coils there, so you don't have any load on it, so it just absorbs any side loading. And then this must go down. These lines must go from the master cylinder to the proportioning valve. But I've got a whole new setup here from Wilwood. Nice. And then there's the fittings and the hoses to do a bench bleed. I was doing a little reading about these, and this is that really slick proportioning valve. And they've got a nice bracket assembly that holds it in place right beside the master cylinder. It's pretty slick, actually. I'll probably go, well no, this is against the brake booster. I'll probably put it on this side. That way it's easier to adjust just by opening the hood. You don't have to reach over. Yeah. All right, is there any fluid left in there? A little bit. I can probably sop that up with some paper towel. And then I might just cut the lines and get this thing out of here. There. Okay, so I cut out the proportioning valve, and now you can see it's cleaned up a lot. This is the front line that goes down across the cross member over to the passenger side front, and then this one just has a little short connection, and then it connects into the flex line. So I think what makes the most sense is to run both of those new stainless lines now before I put the master cylinder on, just because it's ease of access. And then I don't think it really matters, because these guys are coming up through the bracket right at the center. And I think it would make more sense to have the proportioning valve inboard kind of tucked in here. That way it's out of the way when I'm setting the engine in, and it leaves more space on that side. So I think I'll put it on the inside mount. But yeah, that's cool. And then this is the line, that long line that'll go all the way to the back diff. Cool. And then here's the stock proportioning valve. Again, there's no adjustment in these. It's been a lot of years since I've done study on proportioning valves, but it was something like it sends 60% to the front. I think that's the front circuit there, the larger line. and then 40% to the back. It, like I say, it wants to give you more stopping power in the front. It's just like a motorbike. When you want to make a quick stop, you don't stab the back brake, because you'll lock up the back tire and go skidding. You want to grab your front brake, because the front's where most of your stopping power is, because the whole weight of the car is shoving down there. So that's why it's larger rotors, and the proportioning valve is going to be set up to put more juice down there and less to the back. All right, so what do you think the chances are I'll be able to turn this without stripping it? Oh, amazing. Okay, well, one down, bunch more to go. The fitting was so tight on there, it wouldn't actually turn around the line, so it was seized, so it eventually just broke. No big deal. We're not using that anymore. Hey, look at that starter. That's gonna be in the next Duke episode. 12 volt, baby. Series parallel switch, you're fired.
You're fired, get out of here. Right?
It's pretty simple. You just lift this clip up, and that releases the line from that fixed position there. It just sits in that slot and holds it there. And then at the other end, this is what's called a banjo fitting. Focus. So you see that line, or that hole in the middle there? It allows fluid to go through, and then there's a corresponding hole in the bolt as well. And then you have a little copper washer that seals it up, that seals the fitting, but then it allows brake fluid to flow down through the line and then into the caliper, and then press the piston, which squeezes your brakes and grabs your disc. Easy peasy. Okay, so I will throw all this junk away and then clean this up a little bit, throw a little paint on there, and then do the same thing to the other side. Make it progress. So I realized, why bother I'm not trying to save these lines. So instead of just farting around trying to get that nut out of there, I just cut the line. There. Okay. Get this old crusty line out of here. Done. Now again, the fuel lines will come another day, so this will probably be replaced, but I'll get a wire brush out and clean all this old gunk out of here. Still some old dirt and grease, and then I can run that new line. Cool. All right, so while I wait for the paint dry, I'm gonna make use of the minutes inside the minutes and see if I can't swap out the back line. All right, I'll definitely save that clip. Yeah, so that just runs along the frame and then tucks up underneath there. Yeah, so basically just snakes down the outside of the frame rails and then kind of sneaks in here and then goes to this soft connection, because again, you need a soft line. Do I have a soft line for the back? I may need to get one. I don't remember seeing one in this kit. Yeah. Yeah, it's just got the two hard lines. Okay, something else I need to order. Just I'm not going to reuse that. But what I'll do is I'll just hack the line here and then snake it out, and then I can put in the new line. Now, where does this bracket go again? Does it mount up to the frame? Yeah, it must. Must tuck up like that somehow. I'm guessing I may have to refer to an old movie or an old episode, but that's probably, it needs a solid mount for the solid line, and then the flex line goes to the diff, because of course the diff moves up and down, so you need the flex line. And then from wherever that goes, I assume that's there, that's where the T goes, and then hard line over that side and hard line, shorter hard line down to that side. So not very complicated at all. Yeah, that would have been easier to do before I had the frame connectors, because now it has to snake over that little opening there. So I had to bend it a little bit. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is right. So it's gonna go in like this. And then this little bounce up here tucks into that guy. And then this kind of goes up and sits where that bracket's gonna lock into the frame. Okay, I'll see if I can snake it through. Yeah, that was fun. Again, if the frame connector wasn't there, that would have been a hell of a lot easier. But now you can kind of see how it was pre-bent to sit up there. Now this is stainless, so you can actually, you can give it a little bit of movement and then bend it back straight again. So this guy's gonna have to bend and then go all the way along the frame rail and then up. There. Something like that. Now, to put on the next, you essentially want to just add your brackets, starting at the back and going forward. Now, what's surprising to me is there isn't a single bracket on this long, straight run. But I could always add one, I suppose. That wouldn't be too hard. Oh, no, I think a bracket goes right in there. Not sure where that went or if it was even there when I took the line off. But I'm sure I could come up with a new one. Yeah, that makes sense because that's too long of a run to not have any support. There, just tack that in. I have a feeling I'm gonna still have to do a little bending to make it all work and line up there. But now I can actually connect up this end. So I'll get the flex line. There. Nice and snug. And now the other end just sneaks through there. And I'll probably have to put the camera down to put the clip in. But the clip's just gonna hold. Oh, maybe. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it was actually easier with the clip out because then there was a little bit of give. And then it actually just tighten it by hand tighten it by hand. Oh, TwinStick's getting tired. I think I might start to wrap it up here. Where's my flared guy? I wasn't planning on getting the car done today anyway. Something like that, put the clip in so I don't lose it. There, something like that. Now, obviously I'm gonna double check everything and tighten it all up. I may still do a few more bends. I mean, this is close, but it still seems a little higher than it needs to be. It doesn't quite follow the same bend there. This is actually pretty good though. Follows it up. And then I'll have to probably do some bending to make that go into the proportioning valve, but it's a start anyway. And it's starting to get dark, so I think old TwinSticks might go crack a cold one. And then I got some mail to open. And I got a few people to recognize. All right, so first up, my buddy Todd, he stopped by at the truck show there and he gave me this beautiful shirt, Ardrossan Trucking. And there's this beautiful Pete on the back there. He calls it Roxy. Now he was telling me at the truck show that unfortunately Roxy got in a bit of a wreck there, so it's gonna, he's got it at the body shop and he's gonna fix it up, and I'm sure it'll be even better when he gets that done. So best of luck to you, Todd. Hope you get Roxy back on the road soon. And I got a something international, doesn't say where it came from, in the old P.O. box. What does this say? Mark, not sure if you need these for your K100, but I had them 3D printed for mine. I guess you would describe them as a wiper spindle supports. Can't find any part number. All the best, Simon. Oh, Simon. So Simon's got K100 Resto in the UK. I follow him on Instagram, and he has done a beautiful job with his cab over. Let's see what he sent me. Oh, that is cool. These are the little guys that go right at the front of the Iron Duke. Here, I'll show you. Yeah, they go right up here. Look at that. And mine's old and split. Yeah, that is gonna be good. I really appreciate you sending me those. I'll give those a good home when I finally get to putting the windshield glass and the wipers back on the Duke. Look at that wheelbase. That's really nice of you, thank you. I'll make sure I put those in a safe place. There, all right. Yeah, definitely go check out Simon's rig. He's actually finished his K100 and it's on the road. And this is a special package that I got from Evan's Polishing, Detail and Polishing. He was watching along as I was working on my Pete there, and he wanted to help me out with some polishing gear. So let's see what he sent me. Oh, look at all this stuff. All kinds of polishing liquid, special glass cleaner. Oh, thank you, Evan. Soap, tire shine. Oh man, that is really nice of you. I really appreciate you sending them in little bags too, because this one looks like it leaked just a little. Aluminum polish. Oh, and then a bunch of wheels. Now, a fan actually sent me an email and he said, Mark, what you're doing with your polishing wheels, you got to be careful because they can come apart if they're not built right. So he says, go to Evans Polishing, check out their website, and get the proper center hub ones that'll be a lot safer and won't explode on you when you're polishing out the Pete. So I really appreciate you sending me all that stuff. And these must be the bars. Oh yeah, nice big blocks. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so thank you, Evan. And if you want to actually get some stuff, Evans is the best out there. I believe he's got a whole bunch of episodes on YouTube to instruct you how to do polishing, the different stages, what all the different blocks mean, because it can be a little overwhelming when you start looking at all of these. What do the different colors mean, and why do I have to use green and not red or rouge or purple? And yeah, so go check out his website. I'll put the link down below, and he's actually got a discount code, a TwinStick discount code that I'll put in the bottom of the video as well. So thank you so much for sending me that, Evan. I can't wait till summer again. Actually, I got to do some polishing on the Duke. I've got the old the fuel tanks that are going to go on there. They were donated. I think it was Jeremy. Sorry if I don't remember your name correctly. I'm pretty sure it was Jeremy from Kansas. He sent me those fuel tanks, shipped them here, but they've been sitting out back and they need to be sanded down and polished out. So that'll be a project for the spring when I finally get close enough to put the fuel tanks on the Duke. There, I did want to recognize, oh yeah, so I was actually, 'tis the season, I was it's getting close to Christmas, and I was out at Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, Canada, and I found a few things. So I actually bought a Leatherman for the missus. So we've got a trap line that we're going to be using, and so I'm trying to get her suited up. So this is kind of the outdoor Leatherman, the Signal, and it's got a flint and steel and a whole bunch of cool stuff. So I'm going to put that under the Christmas tree for Mrs. TwinStick. So again, don't tell her. And then I was also wandering around. My daughter is a big Ford Mustang fan, so I got her some signs for her bedroom. So yeah, if you haven't been to Bass Pro Shop, you got to go through there. There is so much good stuff. You'll end up buying a bunch of stuff for all your friends and family, but you'll probably end up finding a whole bunch of stuff that you'll buy for yourself as well. And then in closing, I wanted to thank and call out all of the wonderful people that have been contributing on the Patreon channel. So I wanted to mention the names of the folks that have recently signed up, and it is a long list. You guys have just been great. So special thanks to Andrew Kohler, Joram, Brandon Rush, Juicebox, Jamal Rogers, Chandler, Stephen Smith, James Reynolds, Parker Lindloff, Robert Germershausen, great name, probably said it wrong, Aram Martinez, Nick Stilson, John Noblet, Joram, Daryl Kerr, Connor Campbell, Dean Martin the Mark Lips, Joseph McCarty, Ben Southwell, Terry Clark, Jarrett Block, Daryl Brady Hendricks, Large H, Nick Shabazz, Eddie Betancourt, Phil Higgins, Little Red Z, Jock Patterson, Billy Emery, Hayden Starr, Brian Cooper, TJ, Bryce Smith, Gene, Shep Scat 392, Tyler Haig, and last but certainly not least, Billy Allen. I really am grateful. Thank you so much for contributing to the Patreon channel. It helps me keep all these projects going, and you get if you join Patreon, you get to see the Iron Duke build and some behind the scenes stuff. So again, go check that out if you're interested. So with that, I'll wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I didn't get quite as far as I wanted to. Obviously ran into a few roadblocks, but when you hit a wall, you can always go through a door and get to the other side. So I got some brake lines on there, as you saw. There's still a few pieces that I need to finish up the brake lines, but hopefully in the next episode, I can get that master cylinder mounted, that proportioning valve, connect up all the lines. I'll do a bench bleed on the master cylinder, and then hopefully bleed all the brakes. I'll get that plate and finish up the back and put it back on wheels again. And maybe, just maybe, if Blake is available one of these evenings in the upcoming week, the next time you see the Trans Am, you'll see some steel welded in and covering up all that rust. So thanks again for watching. Thanks again for all the support. See you in the next episode. And like I always say, don't ever forget, if you got it, truckers brought it.